We had the hearing from the Secret Service earlier today. I am more than happy, however, to look at some of the specific clips that the far-right YouTube channel Forbes Breaking News has put out there. Jim Jordan goes absolutely nuclear on Secret Service director over Trump shooting.
That's Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, were you guessing or lying? The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, the assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false. The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said that is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed. But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this. Top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel. The next day, the New York Times said this. Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail. So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question.
Well, what were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for...
She's not answering questions.
...additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what did you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on...
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What they asked...
Who's the bad one? I'm stupid. Dude, it's not a sports game, man. She's the director of the Secret Service, and he's a right-wing dipshit. We kind of don't like either. We're not going into this with... They're both bad.
And how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when people...
Why does he talk like this is an interrogation? Because it literally is.
When details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service.
It's literally what the CCP does to political... Are you all like, is this your first hearing? This is this happens like every day in the Senate. This is literally like this is a constant, this is a normal thing. We watched it just like 2 weeks ago with the CEO of Boeing. Like,
and what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days. And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
This is pretty stupid and weak.
Just for the record, the Secret Service has an annual budget of around $3.1 billion, and I believe around 8,000 employees. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, there were many security failures on the day of the attempted assassination and leading up to that day. Let's start with the building that the shooter used to shoot President Trump from. At any point Saturday, did the Secret Service have an agent on top of that roof?
Sir, I'm sure, as you can imagine, that we are just 9 days out from this incident, and there's still an ongoing investigation.
Dude, wow, she really won't answer anything. Are you kidding me? That's the easiest question. You would know whether anyone was ever on that roof. Why is she stonewalling the most obvious, straightforward questions?
Investigation, and so I want to make sure that any information that we are providing to you is factual.
You can't, okay. Why did the Secret Service not, can you answer why the Secret Service didn't place a single agent on the roof?
We are still looking into the advanced process and the decisions that were made.
Okay. Wasn't that building within the perimeter that should be secured? Do we agree with that?
The building was outside of the perimeter on the day of the visit. But again, that is one of the things that during the investigation we want to take a look at and determine whether or not other decisions should have been made.
One of the things that you said, I believe in an interview, that there wasn't an agent on the roof because it was a sloped roof. Is that normal? And do you fear that immediately creates an opportunity for future would-be assassins to look for a slanted roof? I mean, this is a huge question that every American has. Why wasn't a Secret Service agent on the roof? And there have been reports that agents were supposed to be on the roof, but it was hot that day and they didn't want to be on the roof. Can you answer any of those questions, Director?
So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman. I should have been more clear in my answer when I spoke about where we place personnel in that interview. What I can tell you is that there was a plan in place to provide overwatch, and we are still looking into responsibilities and who was going to provide overwatch. But the Secret Service in general, not speaking specifically to this incident, when we are providing overwatch, whether that be through counter snipers or other technology, prefer to have sterile rooftops.
Did the Secret Service use any drones for surveillance that day?
So again, I'm not going to get into specifics of that day in itself, but there are times during a security plan that the Secret Service does deploy an asset like a drone.
There were reports that the shooter used a drone just a few hours before the rally start time. Is that accurate?
I have heard those same reports, and again, am waiting for the final report.
Do you know, if you can't answer the question, that's your answer. But can you answer this? Do you know? I'm not asking yes or no, but do you know if the shooter used a drone before the shooting?
That information has been passed to us from the FBI.
How many Secret Service agents were assigned to President Trump on the day of the rally?
Again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the numbers of personnel that we had there, but we feel that there was a sufficient number of agents assigned.
There are reports that several agents assigned to the rally on July 13th were temporary agents not normally assigned to President Trump. Is that accurate?
He's fishing for clips of her being incompetent. Okay, but the problem is, like, they actually did fuck up. A sniper from a rooftop 400 feet away isn't exactly like a crazy, esoteric, unexpected. There were only so many rooftops in the area. Bullets can go 400 feet. Like, 100%, it's a fuck up. Yeah. Like, but it seems like she won't answer literally any question, you know? This is kind of a worthless hearing because all this shit is classified. Well, she can say it's classified. It seems like a lot of this evasiveness doesn't come down to it being classified. A lot of it just seems to be she doesn't want to give anyone any information that they can use to, like, hook onto and attack her on. In all likelihood, she probably did at some point in the past say, nah, we don't need more Secret Service agents on Trump. Things are fine. It's fine. And now that things went tits up, she doesn't want to give any information that would lead to people being able to say, hey, you actually did not, like, you did fuck up on that call, you know? That's the impression, at least.
What I can tell you is that the agents that were assigned to former President Trump are Secret Service agents that provide close protection to him, and that was what was actual on that day.
How many temporary agents were there that day?
Quite frequently, sir, during campaign events, the Secret Service utilizes agents from HSI or the Department of Homeland Security.
You don't know how many?
Supplement
you can't answer?
Our plan.
Have the investigators reconstructed the shooter's precise movements over the past?
Yeah, okay. What did Maxwell Frost have to say?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And obviously, you want to start by stressing that political violence is always unacceptable and acknowledging that this is still an ongoing investigation. But oversight hearings like this are essential components of an investigation, and I want to thank the chair for pulling this together. Madam Director, I appreciate you for being here. The events of July 13th raised serious questions about the efficacy and thoroughness of the security protocols in place. The gravity of the fact that an unsophisticated gunman was able to secure his perch and take a shot at a former president despite multiple layers of security and intelligence are not lost on me. Before I came to Congress, I used to work advance for a major political candidate and have interacted with many different law enforcement agencies on large political events like the one that just happened. How many times was the Secret Service alerted about a suspicious person at the July 13th campaign
Not a good
event
suit
prior
tie
to the first
combo.
shot
Not a
being
good suit tie
shot?
shirt combo. What do you want?
I don't have an exact number to share with you today, but from what I've been able to discern, somewhere between 2 and 5 times there was some sort of communication about a suspicious individual.
To the Secret Service specifically. According to reports, the shooter was photographed twice by security officers prior to the shooting. A police officer saw the shooter on the ground and reported him with a photograph as a suspicious person. Multiple local law enforcement officers identified the shooter, radioed that he was acting suspiciously near the event's magnetometers. A local law enforcement tactical team saw the shooter on a roof and notified other security services and also photographed him. One police officer who photographed the shooter saw him scoping out the roof and carrying a rangefinder. My question is, and you've answered this, but why, or you haven't answered this, why wasn't the event paused right then?
Again, I'm not clear on the timeline of when the Secret Service shift and the counter sniper were notified.
But earlier, Madam Director, earlier you said that the Secret Service would have paused the rally if they identified a threat.
Correct.
So why wasn't it paused?
Because I have to assume that they did not know that there was a threat when they brought the president out on the stage.
I feel like this is a breakdown in communication between local law enforcement, you all, and other actors at the rally. And again, as someone who's worked on these, I understand that there's multiple people with multiple decision, with the ability to make different decisions on the ground. I've taken over the last week, I've spoken with a lot of folks in local law enforcement in my district and across the country that I've worked with before, and other people have brought up concerns around being able to communicate with with Secret Service during these big events and having their flags taken seriously. I do believe that if Secret Service believed that there was a legitimate threat, that they would pause the rally. My concern is before that something was flagged and it wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been taken. So I think this shows an issue with communication. And I want to know, Madam Director, what you intend to do to fix that, not in 60 days, but now. We're in the middle of a presidential election, obviously a former president who had an assassination attempt, another rally goer who was killed due to this gun violence. We now have a presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party who's also historic, first black woman to be running for president. And so I am worried about everybody's life. What do you all intend to do to fix this communication breakdown and making sure that you actually take what local law enforcement and local folks are saying more seriously?
We take what local law enforcement relays to us seriously. Let me just be clear on that. As far as the communication,
but not this time.
We always trust our law enforcement partners and have a great relationship with them. We are looking at whether or not there was a communication breakdown. If that was the case, we will take steps to ensure.
How long before the shooting actually took place did they get a report of the guy climbing the roof? Like, how much time was there? How big of a gap was there?
I have to say, Director, we're pretty close to the halfway point during this. You answered more questions with an ABC reporter than you have with members of Congress. So we have a lot more questions. The American people are demanding that we get answers to those questions, and that's what the purpose of this hearing is today. So I'm
52 minutes. How is it 52 minutes? Why am I getting such varying answers?
sure a lot of the questions that have already been asked are going to be asked again, and hopefully we can get some answers to those questions. I strongly implore you to answer those questions. You're here with a subpoena, and we expect you to answer the questions. Chair now recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Cheadle, the American people are watching, and they're wondering if there are any questions you can answer honestly today. So, Director Cheadle,
Secret Service knew there was a gunman on the roof 20 minutes before the shooting. How could was he on the roof 20 minutes before? Trump gunman flagged by Secret Service 20 minutes before shooting. Counter sniper used a rangefinder to flag a suspicious man some 20 minutes before gunman opened fire. That couldn't have been on the roof, right? Local police spotted the gunman who was acting strangely at Saturday's Pennsylvania rally about an hour before the shooting. They lost him in the crowd before he was spotted again by the counter sniper. He was identified as a character of suspicion because he had a rangefinder as well as a backpack. Dude, if someone's wandering around a crowd 400 feet away from the former president with a rangefinder, I'm not saying arrest him on the spot. I'm just saying you'd think you'd have an officer go like, hey, tag that guy. Like, hey, that, like, fuck, like, seriously, dude. You could detain for that easily. I'm not saying you would, like, arrest him or charge him with a crime. Just like, yeah, man. He was only on the roof for, like, 2 minutes before the shooting. Yeah, but that's enough time for the counter sniper to at least get a beat on him. He had the rifle out. If the counter sniper could shoot back, that means the counter sniper would have had the ability to sight him as soon as he got up on the roof, possibly before. They did in the video. Though he shot first. The counter sniper didn't shoot first. Because of the reverse slope, they couldn't see him till the last second. I don't know if that's true. Maybe? They rangefinded him like 20 minutes before the shooting, right? I don't blame people for wanting answers for this. It's kind of like a crazy demonstration of incompetence. Yeah, Crooks was spotted this time by a counter sniper officer around the AGR International building. The officer reportedly took a picture of a gunman looking through the rangefinder and radioed to a command post to report the sighting. Banned slanted roofs? I don't know.
I have a series of questions, very specific questions. I want very specific answers. Most of my questions are going to demand a yes or no answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, my first question. Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
We love our theater, folks, don't we?
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question, yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure, yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable, yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena?
This kind of shit is dumb. Honestly, I don't mind it. This woman was stonewalling so hard. Somebody being just incredibly abrasive is preferable to me. Like, none of you would mind it if it was a Democrat doing this. It's because it's coming from a dipshit Republican that we mind. I don't have an issue with it at all.
To get you to show up today as being transparent, yes or no?
I have always been
Yes or no? You didn't want to answer the question.
Committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours before this committee got your statement.
Without objection, so ordered.
Okay. Is the Secret Service fully cooperating with our committee?
She's slaying personally. I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
Okay, you say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video?
See, it's shit like that. The answer to that question is no. Say no. What do you mean I'll have to get back to you on that?
Recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today.
All right. Sorry, folks. It's the gay in me. I can't help it, Stan.
Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how
Have you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
that. That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. Like you're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions. Have you provided us all communications from the Secret Service related to that day and that rally? Have you provided this committee? We've asked for this information on July 15th. Have you provided any of this information that this committee has?
I don't know if you need to hand it to Republicans trying to encourage conspiracy, but she's not encouraging conspiracy. In this case, the Secret Service actually did up and actually is being obfuscating. If Kimberly Cheadle had come here and been like as open as she could without like broaching national security, like you know, anything like that, maybe like if she had come here with a more forthcoming tone, maybe things would have worked out differently, you know. But she came here like being very transparently opaque to, you know, like it's, if anything, her behavior is feeding the conspiracism, you know. Having a Secret Service director show up under subpoena and then like aggressively fail to answer questions. I don't know. Yeah, Hungamaster, I get that, but it's the fault of the Secret Service director for enabling that narrative, I think.
Asked of the Secret Service, any of it?
I'll have to get back to you.
Have you even read this letter that we sent you? Did you even read this?
Yes.
Okay, and you have said you don't know, you have no idea. The answer is no. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for. So, was this attempted assassination of Donald Trump a failure of training or execution or both?
I think that those are answers that we need to
Training, execution, or both? Which one?
I think those are answers.
All right. How many Secret Service?
See, again, like stuff like this. She, like from my perspective, my thought would be she could best say, based on the information I have, I believe execution. Right? Wouldn't that make sense? That'd be a sensible answer, right? But she, even the answers that we know she has the ability to give some room on, she's not at all. I'm not saying she should just like fall for every bad faith trap and go like, yeah, I fully commit to this position that might be proven wrong due to information outside of my like scope of knowledge, you know. But like she's just not, she's so defensive.
Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure.
At this time, none.
Okay, there's an answer. I thought she was going to say, I'll have to get back to you on that.
How many Secret Service personnel have been required to take a refresher course on how not to let people shoot Donald Trump?
Our personnel are currently operational. We are examining the facts of this investigation, and we will make the changes necessary.
What time did law enforcement become aware that there was an individual on the roof with a clear line of sight to President Trump?
I am still verifying timelines.
Of course, 9 days in, you have no answers. How many minutes went by between the time law enforcement saw and took photos of crooks and the shooting? How many minutes?
I am still verifying timelines.
57 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Before I recognize...
There's probably going to be another hearing on her in the future where they go over this stuff after the investigation is complete. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene took a shot.
Chair now recognizes.
I don't believe you, and neither do the people watching this hearing. You're not doing well, as Mr. Moskowitz informed you. You've been sitting here for over 3 hours, and I have you know the entire country is demanding you resign and demanding that you be fired if you do not.
Okay. Even if the audio wasn't, I don't want to listen to her talk. Yeah, you mean when they should be doing this, right, Vosh? Why are you guys being so defensive about the head of the Secret Service? You're standing for gigacops right now. No, it's okay for there to be an angry hearing like a week after a massive up and an attempted assassination of a former president. You know, that's pretty normal. Like a hasty hearing is pretty normal. Her defensiveness and her unwillingness to answer questions directly is definitely not just her being like prudent and cautious. It's also her being just completely opaque. Like it's definitely both. Like, come on. AOC's question for her. Okay, sure, we'll watch AOC.
You established earlier that the building upon which the shooter operated from was outside of that established perimeter, correct, for the Butler, Pennsylvania event?
It was outside of our secure perimeter, yes.
Now, that building was, I believe, 500. How far away was that building from the president?
It was approximately 200 yards.
200 yards. Now, the individual used an AR-15 in order to act out his assassination attempt.
Known because every bullet kills 15 people, yes.
An AR-15 has a range of about 400 to 600 yards. My question is, why does the Secret Service perimeter, why is the Secret Service protective perimeter shorter than one of the most popular semi-automatic weapons in the United States?
There are a number of weapons out there with a number of ranges. Again, an advance was completed. The determination of the perimeter, I'm not going to speak to specifics, but there are a number of factors that are taken into account when we determine our perimeter. Some of it has to do with terrain, some of it has to do with buildings, some of it has to do with assets and resources that are available.
And so what I'm hearing is that a perimeter was not established outdoors in an outdoor venue that would prevent an AR-15, which is one of the most common weapons used in mass shootings, from being able to be within the range of Secret Service protection.
This is really stupid. The God's honest truth, and this sounds kind of like maybe counterproductive or defeatist, but it's the thing that I kind of privately believe. I don't know if you can actually secure an effective perimeter anymore. It genuinely seems like if a person wants to attempt a shooting or an assassination or whatever, they can kind of just do it. Like firearms have such a long range that you can't reasonably like imagine what a 600-yard perimeter would look like in like a midtown city where you have a bunch of buildings ranging in height from 1 story to 5 stories. Like there could potentially be hundreds of rooftops that cover any, like it's that's like 2 blocks. That's more than 2 blocks potentially. I mean, it's and every window, yeah, it is about mitigation, not total prevention, but it's just like sometimes I feel like the only thing that really makes a difference is just having a country stable enough where people don't want to throw their lives away trying, you know? Like if somebody's doing an event indoors, you can protect them. There are things you can do. You can have security measures at the entrances. A person can be protected if they're indoors. But if they're outdoors, I genuinely don't know. Unless you're outdoors in, I don't know, like in the White House veranda or whatever, in which case, like, obviously you're at the White House. You have that security coverage. Everything in everything in DC is like tailored towards security at the, you know, the important government buildings. I'm just kind of curious. I don't really know. You also have snipers with like 2-kilometer ranges. Yeah, well, the main issue with that as an option is just that I think that most people just can't make that shot, really. Like the gun might have that range, but do your hands, you know, like can you hold it that steady? Can you factor in the wind? You would that at that point we're getting like you need like a Green Beret sniper or whatever to make that shot, because you only get one, you know, before like the first bullet misses and then like the president ducks. A trained assassin could. Yeah, but like in the real world, I don't think trained assassins are really a thing. Hitmen are a thing, but they're greasy, low rent dipshits in like, you know, countries with a poor crime and policing that just like you give them $500 and they shoot a guy like on a drive-by or whatever. Like that level of like paid killing works, but assassins, I don't like. We see a lot of them in movies and stuff, but every time a shooting happens, it's like a crazy lone wolf. When was the last time we heard about a professional assassination being done by like a trained sniper? I don't think I've ever heard of something like that. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, just I don't think it's likely you're gonna, you know, have a sniper from that distance, I guess. They don't really happen domestically. Yeah, I guess they happen more in other countries. I'm talking about America mostly because in America we're a bit more, you know, secure and established, I guess. But Oswald was trained. Yeah, Oswald was trained as a like former soldier and a like a lunatic, but he wasn't like an assassin. Oswald was just like a nutcase, really. Well, whatever.
A perimeter was established, and even though there were buildings that were outside of that perimeter, it wasn't just that building. There were a number of buildings in the area, and there was
Oswald was a very good shot. That is true.
Was overwatch that was created to help mitigate some of those buildings.
Oswald was in the Navy, so he wouldn't have been trained as a marksman. No, he was he was a very good shot. Also, people in the Navy are still trained on marksmanship, but no, Oswald was an exceptionally good shot. That was like the only thing he was good at. He was a weirdo. That was the one thing he could do well. Marine, the Navy, but gayer.